All right. Good morning, everybody. My watch tells me it's 10 a.m., so let's get started. And welcome to the Academy of Sciences in Tallinn, in Estonia. I'm very glad to see all the folks who came from abroad. Thank you for taking the time. It's getting close to summer here, so it's not as cold as it used to be. Still, we understand that life doesn't take you to Tallinn maybe so often, so thank you, especially if you're a speaker. So my co-organizer, Ülo, could not unfortunately be here today, but we have invited you here to talk about zero knowledge in the Future Cryptography Conference series. So for those of you who have been here, then last year we talked about certification of cryptography, evaluation of cryptography, and the processes around that, standards. And the year before that, we talked about post-quantum cryptography. And I will actually use this opportunity to announce something. You might have seen some of these boxes. It's a board game called Post-Quantum Trails that Cybernetica's researchers Elisaveta and Nikita have designed with design from Rene Jürgenson and illustrations by Karel Korp. And it's a game that we are publishing in collaboration with the OpenSSL Foundation. And the goal is to further continue the transition to quantum-safe cryptography. And if you're a researcher, if you know something about publishing papers or running research, then you will find the game hilarious and fun. So if you would like a copy, then there's an option there during the breaks. You will get a copy in one of two ways. You can either give a donation to the OpenSSL Foundation or to the Estonian Gifted Life Cancer Foundation. So whichever you feel preferable. I've played this. It was fun. Basically, I'll give you a few spoilers. You will have a chance between what your choice of math will be for going for quantum safe, whether you go for lattices or multivariate or so on. And then some things might happen. Some papers might be published that put you back in time, and there's the whole industrial and the marketing aspects. It's great fun. So I will take this opportunity to let's applaud Nikita and Lisa and Rene for their work on this. So now let's get to this year's topic. I can't promise that we'll have a zero knowledge board game in 2 years. So I have a clickbait title. Usually when you have zero somewhere in a term, then it's somewhat marketing-like. Zero trust has been a big term. No two people have the exact same understanding on what it is sometimes, but zero knowledge is totally not that. And because I have learned zero knowledge in school, and what the professor told me was that teaching zero knowledge usually results in zero knowledge for the students. Unless you draw a lot of pictures, then I will start by showing you a number of pictures and telling you a story of where I see zero knowledge making a difference. It's slightly related to how we do bureaucracy. So you can imagine that if you want to prove something on paper, then throughout the years and decades we have gotten used to things happening on paper. And official-looking documents are a very good thing. So there's a letterhead. You know that it's this organization. There might be a text that makes sense in a language that you understand. Somebody has signed it manually, and for very official stuff, there's an official seal or a stamp of some sorts. So this is how we used to do things on paper. And then, how do people validate this? They look at this paper and say, this looks very official, and it has a signature on it, must be real. And then, if something is wrong with it, then you bring in the forensic experts, the handwriting experts, and then you try to understand, no, that was actually a forged signature. So this is how we've done things on paper. So, if you want to prove something to someone, show them some data, and say that I want to apply for something, for a position, for some money, for something, a grant, something else, then you need to provide them with some data that proves that you are eligible. You're fit enough, you have enough money, maybe you're asking for a loan or something like that. So the question is that you usually have to staple all your data to the application. And often that data is there, and it's not clear how much of that data is actually needed by the recipient. For example, in this case, it's annexed to a certification of health records. There's a gentleman here who has severe vision impairment, but there's also some other stuff about hair, head and skin that might not totally be relevant for that. But this piece of personal information also moves to the target during this process because the document is attached to the application. So the data is a part of it. Not all of it might be needed. And this is a small example. Sometimes you have to go and give your whole health record history, whole financial history to get something that maybe doesn't even need all of that. So what if we could do differently? But first, let's look at how things have changed in the digital signatures. And again, the barn of digital signatures is filled with many different animals. I'm here talking about the Estonian way. And here, what we do is we take the same document in a digital form, but we sign it using digital signatures. The document, the visual representation still looks very much the same, but instead of a handwritten signature and maybe a stamp, there is some digital stuff attached to it. You still have contents, letterhead and all, and there's a digital signature which is a result of cryptography, clever math. So there's trust chains, you have to look at certification authorities, PKI, all of that. Humans are not capable of validating this just with their head. But we know that from previous times on paper, they were able to validate, but that validation wasn't really not very strong, let's say. The dates could be whatever. There was no proof that the dates on the document were actually good. So in Estonia, you can't backdate documents in digital signatures. It's on paper, it's much easier. Write arbitrary date, sign it, go. And digital signatures are sometimes stronger. So, but humans still need tools to validate, and it's a downside to it in a way. That's why we have open standards, and everybody can write their own validation tool if they want. But we've sort of come to terms with that. And if we look at things internationally, how DocuSign or PDF signatures work, then let's say or some places digital signatures work with an SMS two-factor protocol, pretty much. So there's various ways how you can do them. This is actually, I would argue, quite strong. But we've sort of accepted that you need a computer to check a signature. So why not take it one step further? So zero knowledge has a potential to give you a new way of thinking about digital signatures and data with documents. You'll still have a digital document, but instead of the data attached in plain text, you'll have a proof that the data correspond to some rules. And it's proof of, I have here data, and these data correspond to those and those rules. I am fit enough, I have enough money, and so on. So user, when the recipient of a document, when they receive it, it will no longer be, check that the signature is valid and the date makes sense, but it will also be check that this proof on data makes sense. It proves something that means something to me. And it will give if you do it correctly, it will give you one surprising additional thing. Usually, when you submit an application with some data, you may not know what the validation algorithm is. But if we want to do it in this zero-knowledge way, it means that the user has to prove that I ran this validation algorithm on my data, and here was the result. And you prove that this was the checking algorithm you ran. And all this can be done with mathematics. We'll learn how today. And that changes the power dynamic a bit. You will basically prove properties on your data without showing the whole data. It has a potential of improving privacy, improving transparency, but it will also be a challenge to some bureaucratic processes. So, That means that there is research to do, there is design to be done, and some of the things I'm talking about here, it will take some time before we reach all that in the world. So today I have here for you a program that talks about very, very, very current things like digital identity wallets, very, very, very current things like zero knowledge in e-government systems, and also some future-looking things. So what can we do with zero knowledge that we are not yet doing? And maybe we'll do it in 5 years, maybe we'll do it in 10, but the time is certainly here to think about it. So, thank you very much.